All right, everybody, it's go time. It's the time you all been waiting for. All you ECW fans, all you people been waiting 30 years for this guy.
That has been 30 years.
And he's not even drinking a six pack, but he's here to hang out and chew the fat. And as he said to me on the phone, he doesn't give a shit whose feelings he hurts. He's ready to spill the beans and say what happened, where he's been, what he's doing, and everything else. Let's welcome to the show the ECW original, Jay Six Pack Sully. What's going on, Jay?
Greetings, sir. Well, not a whole lot, but I appreciate the invite and I look forward to it. And I was not really aware that these type of things on YouTube. Oh, in the last 6 months or so, I've kind of seen this kind of stuff and watched a lot of them. But the last thing ever in a million years would I think that anyone would give a what about where the hell I've been for the last 30 years. Or how it all ended. I can understand how it started and how it ended, but other than that, what you do.
Isn't it crazy though? It's been 30 years.
It when you think about it that way, it's been more than it's been 31.
Yeah,
March would be Cabrini would be 31 years. Yeah.
right.
Gosh,
Well, I gotta say, man, you look great, dude. You look better than I do. Fuck.
you know, please. So I'm alive. I'm healthy. I have a healthy 17-year-old daughter, and my wife's in her office working right now. So
That's
all
awesome.
good here. We live out in Valley Forge. So
In all honesty, Jay, like for some reason, like because you have been MIA, and through the years, I always wondered where the hell is Jay Sully? Nobody, and occasionally you do start doing them searches through Facebook, like, and come up with nothing, and nobody's heard nothing. And I said to myself quite a few times, I'm like, man, I hope, God forbid, he didn't pass away.
please.
Please.
Tougher than that. My father made it. Now, speaking of that, and we all must talk about this. My father lived to 103, and he died a couple of
Really?
years ago. Today, February 18th, at 103.
God
Eddie
bless.
Gilbert died today,
Today.
February 18th. Terry Von Erich shot
Yeah.
himself and died today on February 18th. And it's my sister's birthday, so happy birthday, Susanna.
Happy birthday, sis.
So all Eddie and Kerry Von Erich on the same day. I did not know that. So and my
Okay.
dad, but
Well, since you know all this, I got to ask. So, like, were you a big wrestling fan before you got involved?
I all right, here we go. Um, I grew up in Bucks County.
Okay.
High school friends and I, or even before that, just watched WWF on, and I fell in love with the Grand Wizard
Okay.
and the interviews and all that, and that's what got me wildly into it. When we got old enough, we started to go to Spectrum shows, and then I grew up in Newtown up in Bucks County, right
Okay.
across basically the river from Trenton, so we could drive to Trenton in 15 minutes and take the train up to Madison Square Garden. So we started going to garden shows in high
Really?
school.
Okay.
Yeah, the first one I went to was Bruno Stan Hansen steel cage match at the end of the summer of '76. That was so we started
Wow.
going up and doing that, and I just I was a crazy professional wrestling mark, and we would go to the Spectrum shows, and then I went to Virginia Tech. I
Okay.
graduated and went to Virginia Tech in '77. The first weekend I was down there, I turned the television on, and Mid Atlantic popped up, and
Mm.
Wahoo, Greg Valentine broke Wahoo's leg the very first episode I watched on TV. So that got me hooked on Mid Atlantic, and we would go to shows in Roanoke, which was about 45 minutes away, and just watch it on TV. But that's what I watched when I was down there. And when I graduated from college, I got a job out in Michigan,
Okay.
just north of Detroit. The first thing I did when I moved out there was drive an hour south of Detroit and go to a Chic show at Cobo. Just so because I always wanted to go to a show at Cobo Hall. And then Georgia started running up in Michigan, Georgia
Okay.
Championship Wrestling. So they,
Right.
the TBS stuff, they would run in Saginaw and Flint and different places. So I would go to that. And then I moved back to Philadelphia to take another job in '84. Um, that's when Philly was on fire. NWA was coming in, and
Right.
WW, and then one Saturday morning, like Todd Gordon, I turned WIP on at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then it was Goodheart. So then we started.
Okay, so you
I did the whole
they,
thing. I mean, I went
you
to
did,
Puerto Rico with Goodheart. Yeah, I mean,
really?
so, oh yeah, I mean, half the people that. So that's why when we were talking a little earlier about fans that we've known forever and ever, I've known most of these people because I was one of them for all up until the
No way. I
yeah.
had no idea.
Yeah. So I was at all the bought my tickets from Joel, did the same way Todd did and everybody did, and became good friend. I became good friends with Teresa Clark. I don't know all the people that you know.
I
But
remember that
she
name.
handed me my first Observer, and then it's on. So yeah.
That's a life changing moment. When you get
absolutely it is.
when that first Observer gets in
Yeah.
your hands,
Yes,
if you're a wrestling fan, your life is changed.
And then I guess because we crazily went to every Goodheart show and loved
Right.
every one of them, and Joel's a hero of mine.
Absolutely.
A total mark, and we love him, but he lost all his money, but he's a hero of mine, just for the shows that he ran. And so that's where I met Steve Truitt, was at a Goodheart show.
Okay.
Joel had me selling T-shirts or something for him, and Truitt was, I think, selling T-shirts for Austin Idol or something. We were upstairs, and that's the first time I met Truitt, and we became good friends. And that was right when I was getting married, so Steve helped me. Steve, he does everything. He helped me with the wedding invitations, and he had a cleaning company, or the girl he was dating at the time did. And so he got that. I got to know Steve really, really well, and that's when he was DJing,
right,
and doing the music, the entrance music for
Sure.
bar shows, and for not for TNA, but for Todd's stuff that picked up after when Joel disappeared. And so Steve just called me one day. It was a Chestnut Cabaret show. So I hung out with Steve at a couple bar shows and different things. But it was a Chestnut Cabaret show. And he called me and said, "Hey, I'm doing the music tonight. Why don't you just come hang out?" So I went down, and I didn't know, but it was the night that they were doing the pilot for Sports Channel.
Okay.
The pilot. And Terry Taylor was there, which I don't think that many people.
I remember that.
Yeah, and Jody Hamilton. You remember Jody Hamilton, the assassin?
Yeah.
The masked assassin. He was the original announcer that they got. Did you know that? At least that's
Wait
what
a
I
minute.
was told. And he started. They were doing 3 shows, and he did the first hour, and 40 minutes through the first hour, Truitt disappeared from the DJ booth and just said, "Put this tape on, put this tape on." And then came back and said, "You got to come back into the locker room and talk to Todd." And I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about?" Well, they hated, and I was told it was Jody Hamilton.
Okay.
They hated whoever announced the first show and didn't want to, they had 2 more hours to do and had no one to do play-by-play. And Truitt and I always just used to joke that we watched so much wrestling in our lives that we could do this,
Now, okay.
Yeah.
So okay. Now, what you're saying is making sense to me, because I remember being, working those shows at the Cabaret, and you were back in the dressing room, and I remember you saying something about the Assassins. And I thought, like, all these years, I was saying to myself, "Oh, I think he was a worker and was one of the Assassins under a hood."
See, he announced the first show. They hated it, evidently, and they didn't have anybody to do it. So Truitt drugged me in the back. Todd got in my face and said, "Truitt said, you have a great voice. You know everything. You can do this. I need you to go announce 2 hours of TV." And I'm like, "Huh? I've never did anything ever once in my life. Never had a headset on." And I said, "Okay." And I did it. And 3 days later, Todd called me back and said they it was good enough to, even though it was horrible, it was good enough to get a time on Sports Channel, and that he was bringing Eddie in, and then he showed it to Eddie, and that Eddie loved me, which is hysterical.
So you knew early on that Eddie was coming in.
Yeah. The week right after, yeah. Yep.
Hey, Jay, I got a couple people have asked if you could adjust your camera angle. They want to see you. And if there's anything you can do with the volume on your end.
Down?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that. The camera angle we might have a problem with. Is that better volume wise?
No.
No?
No, it's the same. I think it's just the way it is.
How about now?
Yeah, it's same.
All right, fine. I'll try not to scream. All right, where
But
were we?
so all right. So you knew that you that Eddie was coming in. They
Uh-huh.
told you. That's crazy. Okay.
And then we did the Cabrini tapings.
Right.
And that was 2 days, right? We did like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You were the first match, weren't you?
Yeah. It was the very first match. And I could choke you guys. It was always the same thing, and you guys didn't know who the hell which was which. It was always the same thing. This double tough tag team, the Hell Riders. Is it easy or HD? Which one is which? Yeah, you guys didn't know.
That's my horrible stick. I had no idea what I was doing. I had absolutely no idea. They just sat me down and said, "Go have fun," and nothing but praise until, well, eventually. And I knew I was horrible. I mean, I didn't, and I got no guidance. I mean, no one ever once gave me any do this, do that, say
Really?
this, nothing, zero. Even when Paul came. So
You know what's crazy though too, and I even said this to myself when we talked on the phone last week. Like you do have like a broadcaster voice.
yeah, people my whole life. Yeah. So I got a voice for a voice and face for radio. So my parents thought I was going to sell hot dogs at the stadium. That's what they thought I was going to do. Because of
Oh,
my
that's funny.
loud booming voice. But no, so I
So
just got thrown in the seat, and there we go.
okay, well, so let me ask you this: as a true wrestling fan and a fan of Goodhart's TWA product and everything, what was your initial thoughts then of ECW before we got the TV contract?
See, that's when I really liked it because I liked the local
Did
guys.
you really?
Those are the ones that, right? I liked Johnny and Tony and
Yeah.
Glenn and Tommy Cairo, and I didn't. To me, washed up, but the only one, Snooker was in great shape, so you can't
Yeah.
begrudge Snooker. But you don't need 400-pound Don Bracco and
Yeah.
all the Nikolai Volkov, and they had Ivan Koloff came in, right, with Vladimir. So,
Yeah.
was it a thrill to be able to say I got to call an Ivan Koloff match? Absolutely. So I'm
Mm.
the biggest marketer in the world, but that, please. I liked it when it was TNA-ish
Gotcha.
more.
Gotcha.
So, but I mean,
What?
I when Eddie was having his issues and that ended and Paul came in, I mean, he never shied away, or at least from me, and I know Todd knows because I don't know if I have the book at all, but that he was just bringing in talent to take up to Crockett up for that World Wrestling Network up in New York. So,
Right. Right.
and I knew Joey was part of that when Paul brought him down for the Super Summer Sizzler, and he called that one match with him. I can't remember which one it was, but that's when I knew that Eddie was missing stuff and he wasn't showing up at the studio and stuff like that. And so,
So
brought Joey in. That's when I knew that was.
all right. So how about let's talk about Eddie first.
Who I adore.
Were you a fan of Eddie's before he came in?
Yes, and yes, because I love Memphis wrestling. One of the things that when I moved back to Pennsylvania after living in Michigan, I took a traveling sales job. So I flew
Okay.
3-4 days a week.
Okay.
And I was able to set my own schedule. And just by weird chance, some of the places that I flew on a regular basis was Dallas, Fort Worth, Memphis, Louisville. So I could set my schedule and do a trip on a Friday so I could fly into Louisville on a Thursday, go to the Memphis show at the Louisville Gardens on a Thursday night, do my business, and then
damn.
fly home. I'd fly to Dallas on a Sunday night. I wouldn't go to a sporting club once. I went to a sporting club.
I was saying, did you ever
I
go to?
would go to the TV tapings at Fort Worth on Monday nights. So
Okay.
I'd go down to do business Mondays and Tuesdays, and then Monday night. That's that's what I said. I was such a mark. I was going to shows all over
That's
the place.
crazy.
Yeah.
So, all right. So when Eddie comes
And
in,
that's where I met Eddie the first time, was at a show in Louisville.
okay.
Yeah.
So when Eddie comes in and you start working for him, everything was kosher and everything was good to
It was
start.
great. Yeah,
Okay.
we had a blast. We went and did the King of Philadelphia stuff and
Right.
at the bars and all that. And yeah, but it's odd because there was literally no guidance whatsoever. I mean, it was the very first show was just Truett and myself winging it. I mean, no one gave us any. I mean, we knew the finishes,
Right.
but other than that, nothing.
Well, how about Steve? I mean, you were working with Steve initially,
And
and
then
then
it disappeared.
they like,
We did the Cabrini shows. We did one set of TV tapings at the arena,
right.
and then he was gone. I guess it was kind of like me. Well, no, I was able to hang around forever, but that was my.
You never talked to him after that, or
Not. I mean, he was at my wedding. We were very close friends, and then he just disappeared. And that's one thing that's bothered me forever. So
really?
that's why I said before, I'm gonna get find something for that.
Yeah, you got to.
Oh, I'm gonna. So, but that's one thing that really, one of the only things that really bothered me about that. So, but other than that, I mean, you just based on what I just said, I've just been a total crazy wrestling mark my whole life. So the fact of being able to do this and be thrown into it,
Right.
gave me carte blanche to sit up on stage at every ECW show for the whole run. So I mean, that's all I really cared about, was being able to sit in the locker room and sit up on the best seats in the house for every single show. And I mean, people knew who I was, but they didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
I was back there every single show.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, but you know.
And you were always, I always remember you like in the dressing room, like just having a ball and being funny as
That's
hell.
I was
And
a total mark. Yeah, it was fun. I was just, that's all I really cared about. I didn't, I once the studio thing. So the whole thing worked out perfectly. I jumped way ahead, of course. So when this whole thing started, the studio where they did the TV was in
Right.
Paoli. I lived
Okay.
in Malvern. I mean, I literally
Oh, you
lived
were right
half
next
a
door, yeah.
mile.
Okay.
It just worked out perfectly.
Right.
So that was no big deal to me. I could go in anytime that Matt wanted me to go do some stupid little voiceover or whatever, and
Okay.
because it was 5 minutes from my house. But for
Right.
Joey, it was a pain in the ass. So that's why that 3 or 4 weeks, and we can get to it, where Joey disappeared and he used Willie B. Watts and he used Matty in the House, and
Right.
that's when Joey kind of went on a quasi strike, because I don't think they were paying him, and if they were, they weren't paying him enough, and he was pissed about having to come down from New York and sleep on the floor and
Sure.
do TV. So that's that gap between me. Well, no, Joey came, and then he was gone for like 3 or 4 weeks, and that's
Okay.
what that was. Joey just
Okay.
went on strike.
So, how about the whole 6-pack gimmick? That whole thing. Where the hell did that come from?
Well, Eddie joked that my last name, Sulli, Gordon Sulli, and Sulli was a big drinker, so Eddie just always joked that I was a big drinker. And because of that, the big guy, the original sign guy, not the Dudley sign guy,
Yeah.
Paul, whatever his name was, who started at 500 pounds and now is my idol because he got down to about 185 at the end of the ECW. Remember the guy in the front row?
Yeah.
He held up a big sign that just said
Yeah.
6-pack Sulli, and that's where that came from. So
Oh, okay. So it wasn't like. See, I always thought it was kind of like Eddie trying to screw around with you.
it was him making. He always would put a bottle of Jack Daniels in front of and do stuff. It was, but
Yeah.
the name came from Paul or whatever. I think his name is Paul.
Okay.
So yeah.
Oh,
That's where
okay.
that came from.
Okay. Interesting. So
But the whole drinking thing just came because of Gordon Sulli.
that's what I mean. Yeah. So it was kind of like a shot at Gordon Soley.
Yes, that's what it was.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. All right. So now, how about though? Like, um, I got see now. I don't know if you know this, but when I got pushed out, as Eddie was getting rid of all the local guys one by one, um, I was really pissed and angry, and I just stopped watching ECW. So I'm literally, it's honestly now for the first time 30 years later, I'm finally watching all this stuff. So I've never seen this stuff.
Well,
So
they're horrible.
I luckily I'm a Tom Mishnick, who's an old dear friend and a huge ECW fan, and he did a lot for ECW over the years. He tipped me off last night. He said, "I know you haven't seen this stuff, but I think you better watch Ultra Clash segment, the Battle Royal." So what was that
I've
whole?
never seen that.
I never saw it.
They needed people to do a mixed gender battle royal, and Joey was doing the announcing by then, and I pretty much had to, if I wanted to maintain my
Spot.
carte blanche, doing whatever I wanted to do, I had to do. The only thing I wouldn't do, and we'll get to it, is 911. I wouldn't do that. but but
I did it.
no, well, Paul liked you.
I don't know
I always
about
had
that.
to have a suit. The one thing they said was, you're probably not going to do anything. No one ever really talked to me. Like Todd never ever once. I was like Todd never hired me. Todd never fired me. We never really ever really talked about it. It just flowed without any communication whatsoever. So I never ruffled the feathers. I never tried to make a big deal. All I really cared about was my ability to be able to stay and sit on that stage and be able to watch all the shows forever.
That's
so
funny.
The rest of it was all gravy. So when Joey took over, they said, keep a suit when you come. And, every once in a while I'd go interview the Sandman with Life's a Bitch and Then You Marry One interview and different things like that. I mean, I probably did 10, 15 things afterwards, but he a bunch of times wanted me to get choke slammed by Alan. That's the only thing I wouldn't do because he would have killed me. So, you did it.
All right, so it wasn't like, or correct me if I'm wrong, then, because the vibe I always thought, especially as I'm watching this now, is almost like they had an X on your back and were trying to get rid of you.
Paul did. That's all. And the only reason is, well, I sucked. I mean, again, they pulled me out of it. Okay, I didn't know what I was doing, but Paul had an agenda, like with all the guys that he wanted to take up to New York, the Public Enemy, and all the people that he was bringing. And Joey was one of them. So when I knew that, he didn't hide it. So there wasn't any animosity. Paul and I never. He the pathological liar that we all know he is. He pulled me aside one day and said, "Oh, I want to make you a manager." And I said, "No, I don't want to be a manager." So, and he was full of shit. He was just felt bad about having Joey pushed in. So, but none of it ever really upset me. All I really, really cared about was that for myself and a friend, we had total access to all the shows, and we did, and were never questioned. Would wave at Fitzy on the way in at the box office, either sit above her in the bingo calling booth,
right,
which I called, we called our private booth, or up on stage. So for all the craziness, I was front row for all of it, but just quietly in the back.
Crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, I was sitting next to Kurt Angle, right next to him when they crucified Sandman. That was a funny night.
So you were there that long?
I was there for every show. The whole through. I don't think I missed one arena show. Maybe when I was, away on an anniversary trip or something. But no, I didn't miss a single show at the arena.
So even after you were done with the company, you were still going.
That's why I never Well, I didn't have a, what am I going to do? Bitch and moan that they took the job away from me that I never asked. You know what I mean? It's not like I applied. But all I really cared about, because it was such an incredible run and being the
Right.
crazy, I mean, I had front row access to one of the greatest wrestling runs in history,
Yeah.
at the United
Really
States
was.
Korakuen Hall. You know what I mean? So that's
Yeah.
all that really mattered to me, was getting to live the. It didn't matter that I was doing it. I actually kind of preferred not to do it.
Did
So,
you feel like that at any like it was going to
no,
be
I
too
had such
much
a
for
good
you?
time. I mean, I had so much fun doing it, but I knew, like, if you go back and you say you thought they had a mark on my back, that was just Paul. Paul had an agenda. I knew what it was,
See, I thought
and
it was Eddie with
no,
that.
Eddie loved me. Eddie adored
Okay.
me. Yeah, Eddie and I love Eddie. Eddie, I'm very upset. Here we are celebrating the anniversary of his death. He had
Right.
a lot of demons, and they caught up with him, and the time was horrible. If that would, if it was a different time and he wasn't going through what he was going through, things probably would have been a lot different. Would have never ended up. I mean, never in a million years do I think Eddie would have taken Eastern Championship Wrestling to Extreme Championship Wrestling. Never
Yeah.
in a million years. It would have been a mini Memphis for,
Yeah.
10 years, 5 years burned out. And so I, Paul's a genius. I have nothing but amazing things. He's a pathological liar. He'd rather climb a tree and tell a lie than stand on the ground and tell the truth. Who doesn't know that? So I have nothing but mad respect for him.
Wow.
So the
So,
only thing, and I'll be honest with you, the only thing where my feelings were hurt throughout the whole up until right now was the shots that Todd took in the book. When Todd said, how shitty I was, and fuck you. I didn't, I didn't ask for this. You begged me to, bail you out, and so, and he would always, of course, be absolutely wonderful to my
see
face.
that
But reading
I
shit
had
like
heard
that
he
kind
had
of pissed me
taken some
off.
shots at you in the book.
What's
I
that?
haven't. I heard he took shots at you in the book. I haven't read the book
Just
yet.
not. I mean, he called me terrible, and I mean, it wasn't vicious, but it's
All
fuck
right.
you. Okay, I would have rather have heard. Thank God he helped us out that night at the bar show. We might not have ever gotten a TV show, and yeah, he sucked, but he was there from the beginning, and
Right.
we all loved him. So, but whatever. I would still go shake his hand and tell him I adored him because I got to sit on stage and enjoy the whole run throughout. So I hold no grudges whatsoever.
What was probably what do you think was the craziest thing that you saw while you were actually in the booth
God,
calling the action?
more in the back, but oh, see, that's where now I'm complaining earlier about the washed up Moroccos and Tito Santanas and people like that. I'm like the biggest Stan Hansen mark there ever was. So being able to interview him and call matches where does Donnie have his hearing back yet? I mean, he lost his
Right.
hearing in that match. You think
Yeah.
he got it back all the way? We'll have
No.
to ask when he.
No.
Yeah. Oh, he doesn't. Yeah.
No.
So
No.
he
As far as I
really.
know, I mean, for many years, I mean, I was around Donnie for many years because when I was promoting, he was,
Yeah.
working some shows for me and all, and we kept in touch over the years. And yeah, I mean, that was a permanent damage he
Yeah.
suffered.
So Stan
Yeah.
ran amok in the ECW arena. So, but that was fun. And see, that was my problem is that I was such a mark. They were all at Ultra Clash. Who was there? It was Stan Hansen and Terry Funk and Eddie and Abby, I guess.
Abby, yeah,
And I knew Abby back from Goodhart days.
sure.
In fact, when we got stuck down in Puerto Rico on that Goodhart trip where they canceled the show, it was a hurricane. Hurricane Hugo hit, and we all got stuck down there for a week, for
Oh wow.
5 days. Missed the anniversary show, and that's why we all went down. But I pretty much the whole time hung out with Victor Quinones,
Okay.
George Napolitano, and
Mhm.
Abby, just because they were there, and I had no issue with just going up and sidling up to them. So I hung out. So I picked Napolitano's brain for 4 days. How great was that?
Right.
So stuff like that. So it's because I was such a crazy mark myself. I would mark out in the dressing room in front of Stan Hansen and Terry Funk and Kevin Sullivan and just say, "Oh my God, I can't believe this is happening," and they would all look at me like, you know, and then
That's
pat me on my back and but stuff like that. And one night, and Tommy Dreamer talks about this forever and ever when Funk went crazy. Were you there when Funk went nutso and he climbed underneath the ambulance that was parked in the back of the
no.
just we all thought we were going to have to take him to the mental hospital. It was one of the strangest things. And Tommy Dreamer still talks about it. So, but that was a crazy thing.
How about when JT and Doug
I
went off?
was in the, and I named the Eagles Nest. Thank you very much. That's
Yeah,
where, we were up there when that happened. That was
right.
with Doug. That was with Eddie's brother,
Yeah.
Doug Gilbert. Yeah, the Dark Patriot. That's
What
right.
the?
Yeah.
What was going through your mind when you're right there and you see that?
Uh, oh, we were losing our minds because Funk Terry was up there. It was, you know, obviously we all knew what was going to happen and what they were going to do. It and the arena went crazy,
Right.
but see, at that point, being what we were, we had all seen that in Japan and other different places, so it wasn't, you know, we were kind of respected. That's why when they brought in the headhunters and Masahiro Matsunaga, because I was such a mark and had Japanese tapes and stuff like that, at least I could pronounce their names, so I knew who those guys were and didn't make an ass of myself. Those matches were great. I loved when those guys came in. So,
Oh, that's funny. So, I
so.
now how about like what was your last show then?
The
As an
last the last match that I called ever was Taz losing the title to Mikey Whipwreck. And
really?
yeah,
Okay.
and we did it in the studio. It was when Joey was on strike for those 3 weeks, and we did it in the studio in Paoli, and that was the last one. So that one I did do ringside. Paul just had me do it from the studio, and it was funny because then like I don't know how many weeks later it was, but Nancy and Kevin, it might have been an ultra class, and Kevin Sullivan came up to me and said, "Wow, I saw that match you called with Mikey and Taz, and you did a great job." And I was just like, "Oh, you know, warming the cockles of my heart." It was the first nice thing that anybody ever said to me about him, and it was Kevin Sullivan. So I always thought that was funny. So, but that was the very last match that I called, and that was from the studio. As far as at the arena, it was just um, I think there was one more TV taping after the Super Summer Sizzler, and then
Okay.
that was it. And then they started doing everything from the studio.
Was there ever like a full on discussion of like we're done with you, or we're going
Nope,
down the other
nope,
way?
nothing. Never ever mentioned. Never started. You know, the only phone call I ever got was come do this, and then that was it. And then it just all just morphed on its own, and no one said one word to anybody. And I again never. Well, I didn't want to ruffle any feathers. I didn't want anybody to say nope. You know, we're done with you. Disappear. So I just, you know, use me if you need me, but don't take away my seat on stage. That's all it was. So, and
That's
I saw every one of Paul's speeches from the stairs, and I mean, I lived the whole experience, saw everything, and just, but just
so.
very
Why the hell
quietly
don't
and
I
sat in the back.
remember you? I don't remember you there. I would have been.
See, I saw it all. I was there for the whole everything. Yep, in the locker room and up on stage and all throughout the arena. Yeah. Now Todd would have me do stuff. He actually, the buddy that went with me all the time, he would use to send down to the ring to do breakup, you know, pull aparts and stuff like that. So,
Okay.
but that's why no one ever hassled him in the back. No one knew who he was ever. But you know, Todd would always just nod, and if they needed him to go do something physical, they would send him down there. But no, I was there for the whole. I did not miss one show, other than if I was sick or, but through the whole entire run.
Wow,
Yeah,
it's crazy.
yeah, and
So,
that's all I really cared about.
right.
So I have that going for me, which is nice. There's
Did
probably not that many people that can say they went to every arena show and
did
got
you
to participate.
right?
So, yeah.
Did you have any desire to do that for anybody
No, I
else?
didn't want to do it really from the start. No, I mean honestly, I did it because Todd asked me to do it, and I loved Tia. I loved the shows and wanted them to keep them going. You know, and then we went and did the shows at Tabor and the ones up that night. The night at the Chestnut Cabaret where I started was the night that Jimmy Snuka turned heel. You remember he turned heel and laid Todd out in the ring.
Right.
And Todd brought in the British Bulldog for his revenge up in Morrisville. Morrisville or something. And that was the show where Stanley, now we get to talk about stuff, was chanting the whole time, when Snuka was in the ring, you killed your girlfriend, you killed your girlfriend.
Oh, my God,
Hit her head on the guardrail. Where'd Stanley go? Do we know? He's got to be dead. So.
No, he's still alive.
Is he really?
Stanley is still alive.
Is he really?
Yes.
Wow. Every Philadelphia person that I know that lived Stanley's life has passed. That's awesome. I'm glad.
The last indie show I went to before I moved to Nashville was in South Philly, and he was there.
Oh,
and as a matter of fact, I think I took a picture with him.
The last time I saw Stanley, he was selling roses.
Right at 95.
I-95.
Yes.
Next to the Wawa.
Yep. But yeah, no, he's still alive. Many people have told me he's still alive. Yeah, he still pops up at shows from time to time.
Those are the people. That's the part that I love the most with Johnny and Tony and I don't know. That's what I miss, and that's what I like the best, and that's what I thought. You know, we were hoping to continue with Eddie, and then it just turned into Extreme, which is great. So.
So what when it turned like from when it went from what we were part of with Eastern, and then when it turned Extreme,
that was right almost at the same time because the first thing I didn't do was the press conference when Shane threw the belt down.
Okay.
The press conference at the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
That I was there for it, but that's Joey did. That's the first big thing that Joey did. Was that.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's when it changed to Extreme. So I knew it was coming when he brought Joe. I mean, he never, ever, ever. That's the reason I can't hate Paul, because he never hid the fact, and I never understood why Todd was open to. Now I know he wasn't paying Paul, which is great, but why Todd was so open to letting Paul groom the Public Enemy again, who I love more than anybody, and all the people that he would bring down from New York or wherever for the World Wrestling Network thing.
Right.
When I thought he should be pushing the Philly guys. That's the part that I didn't understand where Todd's head was why, knowing that Paul's going to get these guys over and then supposedly take them up in New York to wherever Crockett was doing his thing. I went up to one of those tapings. We'll get to that. That's what I never got was why Todd supported letting Paul build up talent just to take it away. So, and it was at the expense of all you guys, all the people that we love. I love that. So.
Yeah, I mean, I see. For myself, when I look back at those stuff, we were just like getting our feet wet and just getting involved in stuff, and
you were.
we were green as hell. Right. So we in the big scheme of the big picture of everything, I mean, we didn't deserve to be there. It
doesn't matter. They still could have run more local spot shows and done stuff with those people underneath. That's what built this thing. So I kind of disagree with you. There's always a spot for Donnie Allen. There's always a spot for guys like you. There's always a spot for Teddy and Johnny. You go back and watch those Goodhart shows, and he's got Lawler and frickin' Steve Williams or whoever on them, and they were great. The shows were fun. Yeah. Go watch the matches that had the most heat at those shows. Johnny and Teddy running around hitting themselves with bedpans and strangling each other.
Yeah.
So, seriously, go back and watch one of those Goodhart shows and see who the most over people were. And it was the local guy.
Well, that's why I've been saying, and I was on another podcast a couple weeks ago, and I said, I'm on a mission, and I think this, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, because now I truly have a bigger respect for you because you've been around, especially the Philly scene. I think there should be a banner raised in the ECW arena, okay? And it should honor they could put these 5 people on one banner.
I want to see who your five are. All right. I'll
You,
give you my five after that. All right.
you're not going to disagree with me. Johnny Hotbody, Tony Stetson, Larry Winters, DC Drake, and Joel Goodhart. Those five guys deserve to be fucking honored and respected for what they did and set the scene, rolling to what
I'm trying
happened.
to think of who I would trade DC Drake out for, who I again love, but I, I never considered him true Philly.
No,
Um,
but his feud with
yeah,
Larry,
yeah. Oh, that I quit match at McGonigal Hall was the
when they threw
greatest.
each other, what was it, over the balcony or whatever, and
that I loved them, but yeah,
yeah,
that's a very good one, and I agree it should because they're the ones that built especially in South Philadelphia.
yeah.
So I totally agree. So I'd put more names than that on it. So, and I'm glad. See, some people, and I don't know how you felt over the years because I know you got knocked out the way you did and everybody else. Do you hold any issues with Hack or with Stevie or any of the people that, or Meanie or anybody that made
Not
it?
at all.
Good,
And actually, no, not at all.
good.
Um, and me and Meanie had gotten very close.
I know
Um,
me. I've known Meanie
yeah,
since he was,
yeah,
12.
yeah. We a very close mutual friend of ours about 15 years ago had passed away, and after that, we kind of like made a pact to stay close, and we um we used to do dinner once a month just to get together, and we were very close for a while, and then drifted apart, but still keep in touch, text message here and there.
I follow his Twitter site. And,
Yeah,
every once in a while. Thing. Love him.
me,
Stevie, I'm glad he's doing better. I hear he had some bad health for a while. Not a
yeah.
bigger fan on the planet than Stevie. And again, from the very, very, very beginning, he's God. And who else? Matt, where's Max Thrasher? Where are people like that we talk? Where's the Canadian Wolfman and the Kodiak Bear? Where?
Kodiak Bear, I don't know. I'm sure if I track down, if once I get hold of Damian Stone, Nunzio, or what was his
Oh
Little
boy,
Guido,
that
Little
was
Guido, he would know because those two used to come
yeah.
down together all the time from New York. But Canadian Wolfman, he took over the ring rentals from Max, and he does the ring rentals, as far as I know, still for Dino Santa,
Wow.
and
And
still
he
works
worked.
occasionally.
I mean, he had like merry-go-round horses
Yeah, yeah,
tattooed
yeah.
all
On
the.
his
So he
belly,
had to
yeah,
work in carnivals his whole life. I mean,
yeah,
he was a strange guy. Yeah.
yeah.
So, but
Um,
they, yeah, I know
Max,
they
yeah, Max Thrasher. I was asking Glenn this. I think he told me he's like a school principal or something.
I love it. And they
Yeah,
treated Max horribly. They could have done more with Max. They could have done
agreed.
a lot more with Don. Don't make me a manager, Paulie. Make Donnie a freaking manager.
Yeah, I mean that's what Donnie
I
was,
know. That's
with
weird.
Goodhart.
Driving me crazy. So
Yeah, it's
hold
crazy.
on, because there were a couple things that I wanted to, and I know I'm forgetting something that I know taking any notes. But there was,
And I got a bunch of questions or things, comments,
oh,
and all
from people. Well,
too.
go ahead.
Yeah,
Well, let me try to.
let me see here. Uh, so Jeremy says, I remember I turned on ECW one night and Jay Sulli was gone and Joey Styles was announcing in his place that quick. We
Yep,
discussed already what happened.
that's when it was when Eddie was going through all his and didn't show. We had no. We show up to the studio and we had no show to do. So
Wow.
there was no Eddie. We had nothing. So he called Paul in, called Paul down from New York, and Paul cobbled together shows and would have Joey do the voiceovers from. If you watch the first Joey shows, he had like an eagle sweatshirt on, I think, and it wasn't at the. They tried to make it look like he was in the arena, but he wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then so it just happened, and not one word from anybody about anything. Not we're doing this. We want you to do this. You're hired. You're fired. Nothing. It just all went without any mention. It was strange, but I liked it because it kept me where I was. That's all I cared about.
He also said the first episode that they were part of, the NWA, is also pretty sure Public Enemy debuted on that show.
I don't know if I ever called a match with Teddy and Johnny.
Yeah, I don't think they were in
No,
yet.
I called matches, the very first matches with Shane Douglas and with Dreamer and with people like that. Oh God, there's another funny story. But I don't think I ever called. And Teddy and Johnny and I got to be pretty good friends. That one when we went up to, for some reason, Todd and Paul wrangled up a bunch of us, and we went up to Manhattan to go to one of those World Wrestling Network things with Crockett. And Missy was up there. A whole bunch of different people were up there. I don't remember any of the matches, but Teddy and Johnny and I drove up together, had dinner at like a TGI Fridays in Times Square. I don't know if it was in the Manhattan Center or where it was.
Okay.
That's I never I don't think I no I never called a Public Enemy match, but I got to be really good friends with them. They were probably the guys I talked to the most in the locker room.
Okay.
So, I love Teddy.
Magic Mike says, Jay, you look good, and thank you for entertaining me during the years of ECW.
My pleasure. So I'm glad I was able to entertain somebody.
All right. Tom Mishnick says, such great history on Jay, hearing how it started and what a fan he is. Thanks to him for doing this. Jay might not know me from ECW, but maybe when I called and annoyed Good Hearts on Saturdays.
If you were at all those Good Heart shows, I was there right with you. So, I mean, we used to take the bus trips down to Washington D.C. to go to those shows. I mean, yeah, Joel and I got to be pretty good friends, and that's how most of everybody. Todd too. I mean, we all just started doing different side things for Joel. We kind of had a falling out at the end, but and then he disappeared, and that didn't matter. So I'm always thankful for Joel Goodhart. So.
Well, I'll touch on Joel in a second. There's something I'll tell you off air about Joel too. Great news about Paul Mealis. I was very concerned about his size.
Who are we talking about?
The sign guy. Paul.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's who his last name was. Oh my God,
Yeah.
He was wonderful. So he did and then there was other guys. He was the first guy that did the 6-pack thing, and then there was some other crazed lunatics that sat in the back on the same side that always had computer paper. You remember back in the days when computer paper stuck together?
Yeah.
They used to have some really funny signs making fun of me and calling me the King of Philadelphia. And I took my father, who was probably 75 or 76 at the time. They were up from Christmas, and I took him to an arena show, and it was the one of all where they had the big explosion at the end that didn't explode, and it was like a wet fart, whatever.
Oh,
you remember that show? And my dad, my 78-year-old dad, and I were sitting up above Fitzy. We're sitting right above the front door in that little booth up there. And the whole time, guys evidently saw that I was up there with this old dude and assumed that it was my father. So throughout the whole show, they were holding signs up, about me and making fun of me and chanting my name. And my father, neither of my parents, they knew I was a wrestling fan, but never, just horrified both of them, actually. Not my dad. And my dad just thought that was the coolest thing, that, there was this bizarre group of little people that, would hold signs up about me. So for stuff like that,
That was the Holiday Hell show.
Yeah, and I just remember it ended up like that weird AEW show a couple years ago where the thing didn't blow up. So, yeah.
That's hysterical. So, all right. So, when's the last time you've talked to Todd? Any contact over years?
My father-in-law died 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Yeah, probably 20 years ago. And long story, but they needed money for his funeral. And he had a really nice Rolex watch. So I said, I'll pay for his funeral. Give me his watch. So I took his watch down to Carver W. Reed. And the mistake was going there first. And I showed, we had a real nice reunion. I've sold jewelry to Todd, I just haven't seen him in 15 years. But the first 15 years after, I, would go into the store every once in a while. He was super nice to me. JT would be in there.
Right.
And so I went down and his girlfriend at the time, my father-in-law's girlfriend, said, "You got to get at least two prices on this watch. Just don't take it to your friends. You got to get me two."
Yeah.
So I unfortunately went to Todd first and said, "Give me a, what will you give me for this Rolex?" And he gave me a number and he said, "Don't take this anywhere else. I'm telling you right now, Jay Sully, this is the best deal you're going to get. Don't take it anywhere else." And I said, "Okay." And I left and went to one other place because I promised and of course, as soon as I walked in the shop, they called Todd.
Ah!
So Todd called me and chewed me out. And so, but
Oh, that's
that was the
funny.
last time and we, he was fine with it. And I ended up selling it to Todd. So it wasn't, but he was pissed that I went behind his back to get another number on a Rolex that I sold him. So that was the last time. And Todd and I never, it's not like we talked a lot. I'm telling you, I mean, we would talk casually about our kids and our whatever, but he never,
Right.
ever he would show up in the booth and announce matches and stuff like that. But no, we never, I mean, never once did I ever have anybody tell me, say this, push this, try to build up to this, nothing. I mean, I was
Right.
smart enough to know what to do based on watching 10 million hours of wrestling in my life, but
I mean,
the whole thing was winged.
Jay, I'll tell you what though, in God's honest truth, like a hard job to do. Like without any experience, like I had to do it before I moved here. Um,
Zero.
I did it on a couple indie shows. I was asked to do it, and I was horrible at it. I was just
So
like,
was I.
I was worse than you. You kind of sounded like almost like you knew what you were doing.
Because I had watched so much of it my whole life. And when Morocco and those guys came in, I remember because I called a whole bunch of matches with Paul, and then I don't. Paul had to go down and stand next to Eddie or manage Eddie. So he brought Morocco up to the Eagles Nest to
Right.
call matches with me, and I remember Morocco saying to Paul, "Hey, who is this guy? Is he any good?" And Paulie said, "He's just like Monsoon. You'll love him."
Oh,
And
that's great.
so I mean, stuff like that. Being able, I called 2 or 3 shows with Terry Funk,
Yeah.
who I know thought I was horrible, but was as kind as could be and nice as
Yeah.
can be. And I called matches with Eddie, and I called matches with Don Morocco, and I mean, I was just living the ultimate wrestling fan life. It was great,
It,
and that's all I
it's
looked at it as.
it's
So,
funny, like as I'm watching this stuff now, and you catch your mistakes, and Paul catches them, and he corrects you on your stuff.
oh, and I used to purposely say everybody's full name. That was the one thing that I did on purpose, just to, like, I would say Todd Gordon or I would say Paul E. Dangerously instead of just using their first names. That was the one thing that I did on purpose. Just I don't know why, but I figured I'd make that my one little, and it annoyed the hell out of everybody. So it was great.
That's funny.
So,
That is so funny.
but now the best I think if you go back and watch them was Truitt and I. I loved doing the shows with Steve.
I
Steve
thought
was
Steve was good.
DDP before DDP. Truitt was
Agreed.
great,
Agreed.
and they treated him like dog shit. I mean, I don't know what happened to him. He was there way before I was, and it was him, Bob Ortiz,
Yeah.
Todd, and and I'm glad Bob and Lex. I mean, there
Yeah.
aren't two nicer people on the planet. So
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
I don't.
They were like too nice for the wrestling business.
But they had I'm sure that they would say the same thing that they did it just for. I doubt he paid Bob more than $25 a show.
Oh,
So I got paid. I'm trying to think. I actually got paid, which is hysterical. I was, reading those little comments about, well, maybe it was a contract issue. Yeah, okay. I got $50 for the Cabrini taping,
you got paid
and I
more than
didn't
I
want to
did.
cash it. I just wanted to save it because I was such a mark. I just wanted to, ooh. But my wife said, take a picture of it and cash. And then I think I got paid in total $150. No, that was to announce, and then I got another $50 for the Battle Royal. which I was probably the highest paid person.
You were getting paid more than me.
I thank you for that Cabrini show. I got $50 for that Cabrini show.
I got 40.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was gonna guess 25. Yeah, I got paid more than you do, pal.
That's what's funny. Yeah,
What's that?
I'll take that beer. I'll take that beer. Trust me.
Well, McCuskers with a meanie.
Meanie Mania. You know what's funny? When I did this interview with Ernesto Benefica a few weeks ago.
Feel and sex appeal. Baby.
Yeah, he had his check still, and it was from the night that he wrestled. Him and my buddy Frank Cody wrestled me and HD Rider at Chestnut Cabaret. He had the check from that night.
No, I cashed mine. It was 50. First one was 50. Oh, they were all 50 to 50, 50, 50. So I made $200 professionally, including my one match. And that was the other reason when you said, well, what's the deal with that Ultra Clash Battle Royal thing? I said, fuck, if I'm doing this, I'm wrestling one match so I can, so I can tell all my fraternity brothers and everybody that I go with.
Hey, you went over the top rope really good.
Beautifully, too. I was thank you. Go back and watch it. So.
I was waiting for you. You were holding on. I was waiting for you to flip back up.
Yeah, it was the buddy that I go to all these shows with forever was bugging me up to that because he wanted me to do the Dusty this and then drop a bionic elbow on Donnie's head. But Donnie wouldn't do it. He said, there's no way.
Oh, that's so funny. That is so funny.
Yeah, they just had Cherry throw me over the top rope. But that was only just because, A, they asked me to do it because they needed bodies, and B, so I could say that I wrestled in a professional wrestling match, too.
So
and
years
I got paid $50.
So all these years later, like you have kids now, and do people do they recognize you at times?
No, not now. Believe it or not, back when it was going on, people did, which is freaky.
Yeah.
But no, more embarrassing because I went to a pretty big high school, and most of we all knew each other. So there were people that knew I was a huge wrestling fan in high school. And so when the show was on Sports Channel, I'd get weird messages on my answering machine. Like, oh, I knew somehow, somewhere, just weird things like that. And my mother would call me, once a month with, somebody called me and said they saw you on that terrible wrestling show. My mother had more of an issue with it. And I had just gotten married. I mean, I got married 6 months before all this started. I mean, my wife,
I was gonna say, what did your wife think as you're involved?
That everybody's crazy. The part that bugged her the most was the people that I had a table of wrestling people at our wedding. So I had a couple people that I met at the Puerto Rico trip. Pruitt was there. There was a couple other people. Snooker wasn't, thank God. He was at Truett's wedding. Did you go to Truett's wedding?
No.
Snooker was there, and he wore his poo-poo shells and his flip-flops. It was great.
So
I had this wrestling the one table had all the wrestling people at it at my wedding. And I have 2 wedding videos, the one entire one. And then we gave one to my mother because during the reception, Truett went around with a microphone and interviewed people wrestling style. So there's about 25 minutes on my 4-hour wedding video of Truett going around and interviewing people. And my mother literally took it to the video place and had them cut that part.
Even your mother fired Truett.
So I have 2 official wedding videos, the one with Steve Truett and all the interviews and the one without it. So,
but isn't that wonderful?
See, I really miss Stevie. He's the one that I'm just trying to look and see if I know I'm forgetting to.
Yeah, I kind of felt. See, I thought Steve got screwed over because he disappeared, and nobody knew what the hell happened.
He just disappeared,
and I thought you got screwed over too.
I never spoke to Steve Truett once from when he disappeared. It was the weirdest thing. I tried calling him a couple times. Now I know he married Kathy Donahue, who was another big-time Philadelphia wrestling fan.
Right.
But I don't know. I don't know what happened to him.
So have you talked to any wrestling fans through the years? I mean, thanks to
The same buddy
Kathy.
that went to all these ECW fans, he chose with me. I'm still
Okay.
close with, and not. I'm Kathy Fitzpatrick once every 5 years if I run into her, who I adore.
That's how this whole thing happened. Thanks to Kathy Fitz.
Who I could do one of these herself. I would think she's seen
Oh,
more.
she's fun. Trust me. We're going to do one.
I was gonna say if you think I've seen interesting things, talk to her. I'm just looking at this list because I know there's something on here. And I'm forgetting. How well do you know Angel Amorosa? Were you around for all of that? Not the Angel stuff, but the taking the top off and all that silliness at the arena.
So I knew Angel. I knew of Angel, and then when she started with ECW, that's when I met her. Because I used to, at that time, I was hanging out at the hotel afterwards and partying and all. So I knew of Angel, and she was married to, as a matter of fact, one of my best friends that passed away, the mutual friend of me and Meanie. That's who she was married to, my friend Chris.
Right.
So she yeah, and then I was promoting, and I was using her on my shows, and she was promoting, and she was
another one that was willing to pretty much do anything to get it off the ground. Now,
yeah.
Did we have a wild, interesting life? Yes, we did, Angel.
Yeah.
But she was another one of the originals that was willing to do whatever she needed to do. So.
I'll tell a funny. Here's a funny.
But I knew her from Goodheart. I mean, I knew her when she was
young.
12, and we all thought she was 20. Yeah. So.
She when she was promoting shows in the mid '90s. I was
went to any of those.
Oh my God! So I used to go to those shows, and I worked a few of those shows. She booked me on. Yeah, and my buddy, afterwards, my buddy was trying to get paid, and she wasn't going to pay him. And he was like, well, what the fuck? He's like, I thought you were going to pay me. And she's like, look, I'll show you my tits. And he was like,
or I'll put my cigar out in your eye.
He's like, okay. And she just, like, in the middle of the locker room, just opens her top, shows, and there's your pay. I was like, wow, okay.
But, yeah. What else is going on? Now I'm forgetting somebody. Now, Tammy's very first thing was at Ultra Clash. No, it was at Super Summer Sizzler. So
who's that?
Tammy Fitch, Sunny, her very, very first angle was at the arena at the Super Summer Sizzler. Where she popped up out of the first row with a can of hairspray and sprayed it in whoever Candido was wrestling's eyes. I don't know who it was.
See, I never saw that stuff.
That was her very first thing that she ever did. And that was at the arena for the Super Summer Sizzler one. That show. I'm trying to think what else. The Kurt Angle thing was the greatest.
Now I was there the night Angle was there, and he was
so
yeah.
Out.
He was
so baby faced, and he had curly hair. I mean, he had,
yeah.
Oh my God, and his eyes got as big as saucers, and he looked at me. He said, "What the hell is this?" I said, "It usually isn't this bad."
He was freaked out.
Shocked at how he was freaked out.
I think he was traumatized for a while.
So it was great. Now here you go. Now that as long as I got you keep. Do you know? I mean, do you remember? Crybaby Waldo passed.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
How about CN Red? Do we know whatever happened?
Okay, CN Red actually passed away about 2-3 months ago. He went through a horrible battle with cancer. Horrible. Oh. I mean, bad. Dude, it was so bad. Really?
With his picture on it.
Yeah, Chet passed away. It was about 2-3 months ago. Yeah.
And Waldo we talked about. And how about the Flames? Oh my God, Mr. Anthony. And Mr.
Oh my God. No clue about Mr. Anthony. Rick Perez is living down in Florida. I'm friends with him on Facebook.
I saw Lex Ortiz teach Mr. Anthony how to put nail polish on in the locker room at the sports bar.
That's funny.
So those are the guys that I think that's what everybody missed out on. Those guys were great.
Yeah. So. Jimmy Giannetti. So Jimmy Giannetti he's also living in Florida now. Yeah. he was actually the head trainer at Gangrel's school for a while.
Really? Really?
Yeah, but Gangrel actually he closed up the school and partnered up with somebody else, and yeah. So I talk to Janetti all the time, so he's like one of my best friends.
Well, please give him my best. So
I will. I will.
I'm trying to think.
I'm gonna do one of these one night of like a lot of all the TWA guys.
You should.
Yeah.
Try to get them all on at one time.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Yeah.
So,
Any memories of Michael Bruno? He never worked ECW. It was just Tri-State.
not really. I mean, I remember the name.
Yeah.
but
He was Stetson's partner for a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Now I do. Yeah. Now, but saying that, yes, I do remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I loved all those TNA shows. TNA shows were great. So
Yeah. That's funny. Cool. What other stuff have I missed, Jay? I'm trying to think.
I'm just trying to think if there's any.
People, if you're watching, please ask questions while we have Jay. He's going through his notes.
Well, I just don't want to forget anything about Eddie and New Jack. I got funny stuff on there about that too.
So did you? I guess you weren't still involved on the announcing end when New Jack and Mustafa came in.
No, but I never really talked to Mustafa, but I used to talk to Jack. God, he'd talk to anybody. He took the paint off the wall. I was sitting on stage with him one night with our legs dangling over the edge. We weren't in chairs. And I looked over and saw his famous gun tattoo with all the bullets underneath it. And I said to him, just looked at him and one with an explanation. And he just looked at me and said, justifiable homicide, his deal. So he had the pistol tattooed on his arm and then the 5 bullets, tattooed underneath it.
That's funny.
So I just asked him what that was, and he said justifiable homicide. So.
Actually, I just talked to Gary the other day from the Pitbulls.
Yeah, I saw that they were their other one, and Gary and
Anthony.
Partner, he passed, right?
He passed, yeah.
So it'd be great to see Gary. Gary was another one from the start.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So you're not no social media or nothing? Or you're not hiding out on social media?
I have a Facebook page, but I've never posted anything on it. I just do it to look at my neighborhood homeowners association. No, I don't. I have a Twitter account, but I don't use. I use it just to follow other people. I don't post stuff. No, please, I'm 65 years old. I'm old, man. My daughter does that, not me. So
that's
but
funny.
I still follow. I can't sit down and watch a 3-hour Raw but I'll have it on in the background. I still keep up with everything that's going on. I don't get the Observer anymore.
Right.
But I still keep up with it. So I get more of a thrill going back and watching an old Madison Square Garden show on the network as much as watching anything. So
that's funny.
Time spent watching weird old stuff. Like there's a couple YouTube sites, I can't remember the guy, Armstrong Alley or something like that, where they post weird, strange, independent stuff from back in the 90s and 80s, and it's old stuff like old horrible Eastern stuff. And
what are your thoughts when Magic Mike asked, what are your thoughts of when Pillman showed up at the arena?
Loved it. And the same with Austin. I was there for for all of that, the Steve Austin interviews when they put together all that. I was in the room for all of that stuff. Not so much for Pillman. I was in the locker room, but it was bizarre and it fit perfectly.
Were you there during the Pillman New Jack fight in the locker room?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I was there for all of it. That's the thing. So
wow.
I just wish they would have spent more time focused on the local guys. I'm trying to read what this question is.
Who were your favorite?
The only wrestling announcer that I thought I was better than is Dick Graham. I never worked with Dick Graham. See, early ECW, that was Stately Wayne Manor that worked with Dick Graham.
Yes, yeah, Stately Wayne Manor. Yes,
so Stately, who has a very fascinating Twitter site and is an amazingly interesting human being. the bizarre things he's into. He's wonderful.
He's a character.
He's beyond a character. And he actually, whenever somebody will, hey, Jay Sulli, weren't you the original ECW announcer? Typically, there'll be one little post at the bottom from Stately. No, I was. So, but he did the Dick. He was the one who called with Dick Graham at the.
Dick Graham. Okay.
That wasn't me. Yeah, I thought Dick Graham was horrible. So, I guess I can
Yeah,
say it because nobody's worse than me. Right? So,
they did those
yeah,
first couple like releases.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
videotape
yeah,
releases.
right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, that was Stately. Yeah. So he's a character.
That's funny.
So,
That's funny.
now, the night that we were at the Chestnut, the Cosmic Commander, who was that guy? That announced the manager.
So Cosmo, he was actually a good friend of mine. Cosmic Commander was, a huge wrestler mark who early on actually was living out in San Francisco and was just a mark for the Grand Wizard and just stole his shtick. Yeah, he stole Wizard's shtick.
100%.
And and he was working for a federation out in San Francisco. And then when he moved back to Philly in the late 80s, he was a big mark and all. And
the only time I saw him was at that cabaret show, that one the night that I saw it.
Yeah, he worked. He got hooked up with Todd, and so I knew him from the punk rock scene in Philly because he was a singer in a punk rock band, and my band used to play shows with him. And he owned a tattoo shop in Manayunk, but he's another one. Sadly, passed away.
Really?
What's that?
I just threw this on the floor. Wow, I forgot that. My original ECW satin jacket that Taz made me buy.
Dude, you'll get like $500
pack on it. See that, baby?
That's awesome. That's awesome.
When they first came down, the very first time Paul brought Tommy and Taz down to the studio to do voiceovers, Taz went into the bathroom. Oh my God, I'm glad I didn't forget to tell you this. Went into the bathroom to put his gimmick on, and he came out with the makeup and the full Flintstones thing on, and I burst into laughter. Fucking Tommy Dreamer had to save my ass. You think you almost got killed by Taz? He literally almost killed me. I laughed at and he ran across the room and was going to kill me, and Tommy jumped in between him and calmed him down. And I'm like, whoa, relax, Taz. I'm not making fun of you. I'm not used to seeing, you jump out of the bathroom in full gimmick like that. And it was tense for like 2 minutes, and then he made me buy a jacket. So I guess he got over it. But
going back to Cosmic Commander, though, he passed away about 8 to 10 years ago in a motorcycle accident.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because that was the only. I think I saw him work 2 shows. Yeah. He was great, and he had that. I mean, he was more over the top than the Wizard.
He was. I was doing an AM radio show in Philly about 20 years ago when I was promoting. I was like trying to follow in Goodhart's footsteps, and I had him as a guest. And I'll send you the link. It's hysterical. It's an hour long, and he just rips on me for an hour in his Cosmic Commander shtick.
I never got to meet him, but I was always the biggest Grand Wizard fan in the world. All my social media that I don't participate in, all my avatars is the head of the Grand Wizard. So
That's funny. All right, are you going to WrestleMania or any of the weekend indie stuff?
I don't know. Unless 50 can get me a ticket in the box, Kathy, if you hear that. I don't know. I may go. One of my best friends in the whole world's father owns a big civil engineering company and has a box.
Okay.
Full time down at the link, but they get it for the Eagles and for the Phillies.
Right.
You have access to. You can get it if you want it for the other shows. But so we looked into it, and for 20 seats and 2 parking passes, it was. I think they wanted $17,000 for it.
Wow.
I'm not getting together 17 friends and putting $1,000 into. No.
Yeah.
I'll sit home and watch it on Peacock or whatever. So
There you go.
now, if there's a good indie show and there will be 1,000 of them, I'll I haven't been
There's
down to the arena. The last time I was at
there's
the
a
arena,
show. There's a show at the arena on Friday night.
well, yeah, there'll probably be 10 of them
Yeah.
over the weekend. So, depends on how it is. I haven't been to a live show, God, in probably 15 years.
Okay.
So.
Vancer Jackson wants to know, what did Sal tell you in Hamburg at the gorilla position? This is probably somebody that knows you, I guess.
This is the friend that I've been talking about that's been backstage with me for all these years.
That's
So,
fun.
he is a monster. We both were Sal Balomo fans. Huge. And Sal.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Inquisitive, what did he tell me? He asked Sal, in all the time that you spent in the WWF, who got the most women? Of all the wrestlers, who was the most promiscuous and who got the most women? And who do you think Sal Balomo said it was?
Oh my Lord, I'm scared to know. I gotta take a guess.
We didn't guess it.
I gotta take a guess. SD Jones.
Bingo. How did you
Come
guess
on.
that?
Come on.
Me? Are you kidding me? That's
Look at that.
Correct.
I know my wrestling, right?
How the hell did you guess that?
Special delivery, baby.
Wow. We were blown away. That with it, and Sal would because that was
Come on, he was a Philly boy too. Come on.
But Sal, it was no question. It was right immediately. Oh, that's easy. It was SD Jones. And we just thought
that's funny.
So, yeah.
Matt Daly, is this another one of your peeps?
No.
Jay, what is your favorite six-pack nowadays?
Probably Genesee Cream Ale. That's probably the cheap beer.
Do they even make that anymore?
Yes, I just bought a 30-pack for $17.
Stop
a
it.
week ago. Yeah, I come from the school, my father's school of if it's cheap, we drink it. Yeah.
Hey, I'm with you. I'm with you.
I'm not an IPA man. Let's put it that way.
Look, I heard that about SD Jones. Look, the word is out about SD.
Unbelievable. So that is so funny because he didn't hesitate. It was instantaneous. Oh, that's easy. SD Jones. He was a dog, and that would have been the last person that we would have guessed. So,
wow.
I miss Sal.
They were characters, man. All those guys.
Well, see that there you go. Now there's a difference between bringing in Morocco at 400 pounds, bring in somebody like Sal that still gave a shit and was there for more than, you know what I mean? Sal still had his heart into it, was there for more than the money, and was really into it. So
see, and that's the thing I've been saying on the last few videos, or I've said all along as I'm doing these reaction videos, like. And I felt this too, even as it was going on. I was part of it. I felt Snuka and Morocco were both kind of just cashing the checks,
Snuka forever, but at least he was in good shape. At least Jimmy.
He was in phenomenal shape.
Right. So he couldn't,
And it's funny.
Could work.
But the video I released last night was Snuka versus Stan Hansen, and I was saying this is the first match Snuka's truly worked in ECW. Like, he had to work, and they worked their balls off.
Hansen, every one of those matches worked like crazy. Yeah, as I said, I felt didn't he when he hurt Don E, that was a handicap match with Renesto, wasn't it? Yeah. Turned him. Yeah, that was nasty. So,
Scary.
Well, it was a hell of a ride. So that's all I can say. I stumbled into it, stumbled out of it, and enjoyed every second of it. So
that's hysterical.
Have made no real enemies. I've nothing bad to say about anybody really, and so loved it.
See that? I thought you were gonna come on and tell me some good dirt about people and badmouth people.
There's plenty of dirt. I saw some pretty horrible things, but that's personal stuff that I don't want. But no, the strange part to me is that nothing was ever discussed or ever talked about. It just, I started, I finished, and it was never talked about. It was never discussed. And bottom line was the only thing I really cared about was that still.
Is
Be
is it
around.
is it weird to you, like if you pop on WWE and you see Paul now at Roman Reigns and you think to yourself, I worked alongside that guy?
No, the part that I'm surprised is that Joey didn't. I know he had a little bit of a run, but I thought Joey
Yeah,
would have made it monstrous. But I don't know I know he had his own, like we have real jobs and had our own,
yeah.
But I was more surprised that Joey didn't end up getting more than he did. Paul doesn't surprise me. So, so.
Here's an interesting question: was there any wrestlers that you were afraid of?
Taz, after that incident where I literally thought he was going to kill me. I guess you felt the same way.
Yeah, I can't wait. There has to be a time and day where I will get to interview Taz, and
He'll be
I want to
there.
know, but I want to know, like, were you going to come to a show and kick my ass? Were you really going to come and kick my ass? I
And how
mean,
great
really?
would have that been? Well, it wouldn't have been great for you, but how great would have that been if you were at some indie show where Taz did a run in and choke you out? Yeah,
Yeah,
great.
exactly. Right, like,
Now, again, the only other than Todd taking those two shots in the book, no, I guess if I had anybody to be upset with, it was poor Eddie, who, if his life didn't fall apart the way it did, I probably would have lasted a little bit longer. But no, I had no expectations going in. I mean, I got plucked out of the audience one night. That's how it happened.
that's
So,
so freaking hysterical.
mm, it's just the fact that I was knew so much because I watched so much. That's how I was able to fake it and pull it off.
I'm
So,
telling you, I could literally still picture that moment. You were standing in the doorway at the dressing room, the Chestnut Cabaret, and you were having a conversation. It might have been with like Ivan Cole or somebody, and there was a few people around, Stetson and all them. And I remember you talking about the assassins, and I was
yeah.
like passing through, and I'm like, oh shit! So he was
No,
a
I was not
worker.
the
That's
other
how he ended up.
assassin. No,
Yeah. So I thought you were the other
no,
assassin.
not me. But that I now again, I never saw him, but I was told that it was that's who it was. It was Jody Hamilton, and he was the main of the one constant in the assassins. That maybe Terry Taylor knew him. I don't know where they found him, but I was told. I guess it was Truett that told me, and that he sucked, and that they had to do something, and so he pulled me in the back, and Todd, please help me out, and there we go. So pretty
Let me
funny.
Here we go. Let's see the part when Eddie pulled someone off. Oh yeah, that's a good one. When Eddie pulled the guy off the street, like the homeless guy up the street.
That was a buddy of his from Memphis, John. That's when Kevin Lawler's kid, Kevin, came up. What do you call him? Kevin Christian. When he came
Yeah,
up,
and
he
then it was
brought
Freddie
that
Gilbert.
John guy was a friend of Eddie's, or I guess that's just a total wrestling mark down in Memphis that
Okay.
followed Eddie around that Eddie knew and made friends with, and he had a speech impediment, and it was just, hey, I could go out on the sidewalk and find somebody a better wrestling announcer than you, and he went out and drugged this guy in from outside, and that's where that was. Those 3 or 4 studio shows between the Super Summer show and the Ultra Clash is
Right.
when things started going off the rails as far as
Yeah. See that's like because that's the part where I'm watching now, and that's like Tom says here. Kind of thought there was legit heat since Joey was on the way, and that's what I
no,
thought they were like.
no. Eddie had no idea, knew nothing about Joey at that point. No,
Okay.
that was just it was. That's just unfortunately when Eddie started to have his issues and
Right.
was no showing stuff, and we had to put together those studio shows. So, and
Wow.
I was sitting in there in front of the monitors, and then Eddie would come in and sit down next to me and talk about my wife and other things. That's during that time period. So,
All right. So memories of this is Anthony Austin. Memories of the ECW episode you hosted with Eddie Gilbert, and what the hell happened with Stevie Wonderful? He was literally sent to the back by Paulie on TV and never seen again. And
I
that's
swear to God, I haven't talked to him since.
yeah.
How bizarre is that?
We
And he
we've
was
been
one of my closest friends. So
they went to each other's weddings. That's
we
crazy.
you gotta get him on. Now I know where he is, so I'm gonna go find him. But
I'm gonna.
strangest thing in the world. He did, and it was simple as that. Paul sent him to the back, and he went home.
I'm
That's
gonna.
all.
I'm gonna send him a message and
Yeah.
see if he'll.
Please do.
Yeah.
So,
Like I'll tell you off air too. I sent somebody else a message the other night. They read it. They never answered me.
so now that I know he's out there, I'm just gonna go sit down at the bar and you know. So
Right.
I can't imagine
You have
he would
to.
have any grudges with me. If he had any
Right.
issues with me, he would have taken my phone calls for that. So I don't know. I have no idea. So I can't wait to find out because he's one that I really, really liked. And
Yeah.
so,
We need to do like an Eastern Championship Wrestling like reunion, like an old high school
we
reunion.
should. I think that would be funny. As
Yeah.
long as all the funny people get to go, it'd be great. If Johnny goes and Tony goes and all those people go, it'll be fabulous. And Donnie, please, it would be great.
Bring a bottle of rum and we'll get Tony there.
There you go.
There you go. Oh boy, oh
Well, I
boy.
have certainly enjoyed this. So
Yeah, Jay. Dude. Seriously,
was
it's
able
been.
to put together at least a few pieces of those. Evidently, people have been wondering, and it's nice to be able to fill in the gaps for people. So,
Hell,
no,
I've
I
been
was
fucking
not
wondering for.
mistreated. My feelings weren't really, really hurt badly, other than Todd in the book, and I'm over that. And yeah, it was a good time. So,
That's good though. Like that makes me. I'm like happy to hear that. Like, because I like all these years, I honestly thought like
a
they
lot
were
of people,
ribbing you.
everybody did, right?
Yeah.
They thought I just got the boot.
Yeah.
I did, but no one ever bothered to tell me.
Technically, he's still working for ECW.
Well, I didn't get my $50 every time I showed up at the arena, but that was okay.
But you got free tickets that
I
were
get
worth
to keep
$50.
my seats, and so So
That's
yeah,
funny.
it was totally out of the blue. I was nothing but a wild wrestling mark, and I got to live my fantasy. So there you go. Can't
Wow.
complain.
Were you like as ECW was growing and growing, and they hit pay-per-view and started doing the touring and all that? Were you shocked by that at all, or?
No, to be honest with you, not. I was more surprised that they did shows like that in Florida and in weird outposts like that. I think they probably would have done better if they just would have kept it, in the Northeast. But
Right.
no, I mean, how can you? They were running it on a shoestring.
Mm-hmm.
So how the hell Todd pulled this thing off without losing Carver W. Reed? And I know he lost a wife, but I mean, is a miracle. So Goodhart couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And
Well, Todd became a complete from when ECW started to what ECW became. There was two different Todd Gordons. It was two different human beings.
Yes and no. See, I know a lot of people say that, but yes and no. I mean, I think he got caught up in it a little, sure, but who wouldn't have?
Yeah. Of course.
I mean, who wouldn't have? So,
Of course.
But no, because he had Carver W. Reed hanging over his head. I mean, that is a hell of a business, and there was a lot at stake there. So
yeah.
The fact that didn't get compromised is the important thing. And the fact that he was able to do all this and not blow that is where I can respect. So,
I'll tell you, I've never said this publicly, and I'll say this. So after after my whatever you want to call it, my let go of ECW, and I started promoting my own shows. When Eddie or Paul started using the student guys, and they were calling them Dino Sendoff and Joel Hartgood.
See,
like
I never knew that. That really was right. Really, Joel Hartgood.
Joel Hartgood. That rubbed me so fucking wrong. Because I love Joel so much. That guy was like a father to me. I fucking love Joel, and I was like, you know what? Fuck them. I'm gonna do one better. I was gonna we were gonna make the gimmick Carver W. Greed.
There you go. My goodness.
And that's what we were going to do, but we never did it.
So I'm surprised that you and I didn't know each other better from the Goodhart days. So.
Well, see, I didn't know that's the crazy thing. Like, I didn't know about the whole Squared Circle fan
Oh,
club and all.
all right. So yeah,
I
see
was
that.
very late to the party.
Oh, okay. So
Like, when,
that's why I'm saying I know, like there are so many people like Fitzy and the McGee brothers, like
yeah,
Bob and his brother. Oh my God, these
Sarge, yeah,
people. I mean, were there from the start and built
yeah.
this thing. These are the people that I bow down to. So it's
And that's
and
why
they
I've
were all
said
good heart people. They were all people that. Right.
they
So
need to hang another banner in the
you're
arena
right. With
for
specific fans, with
for
John
the fan.
Bailey's name on it, with Paul Mealy or whatever his last name
Yeah,
is, with the
yeah,
McGee brothers,
yes,
with Rob Zombie or whoever.
yeah, yeah.
So, yeah,
Absolutely,
I
absolutely.
agree. So
How about
it was a special time.
Nick? Nick just joined, but he's kind of late to the party himself, and we've talked about Eddie a lot in the last hour and a half. Sorry about that, Nick, but I don't want to keep going over it. But it was all good. Him and Eddie were all good, just so you know.
Eddie was the best. Uh, we loved each other, or at least if he didn't love me, he sure faked it well. So,
Peter Crawford wants to know, what did you think of Tito Santana's ECW run?
same thing. I thought it was
He was
bizarre.
he was around for a cup of coffee.
And and that's probably of all the matches that I called, probably the one that I'm most proud of is him winning the title over Morocco. That the same thing. I mean, I didn't understand why would you pay Tito Santana $1,000 or whatever you paid him
Yeah,
when you could be paying Johnny Hotbody and Glenn Osborne, and
yeah.
that never made any sense to me. What did it sell tickets? I don't know. Do you think Tito Santana and Don Morocco sold tickets in
I don't think so.
Eastern? I don't. I really don't. I think the
I
same amount of people would have come if
I
it
agree.
would have been the Super Destroyers and Hotbody and Stetson in the main.
Yeah,
I
I
really
I
do.
totally agree. I
So
totally
now
agree.
Goodhart, those shows, he brought in some heavy hitters in their prime. Those shows were a little
When you're
different.
bringing people though, but when you're bringing people like when you start, back in those days of Abby was an instant draw because he wasn't around
In
that much.
Philadelphia, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, but I mean, the Morocco's and Ivan Koloff, Tito. I mean, Tito was still young at that point, but still, they were all, it's like bringing in Nikolai Volkov or bringing in.
They weren't right for what
No, they
what
were
the
there.
product was.
Who are we kidding? They were there for their $500, and
They were
because
getting
they
more
were
than
friends
that.
of Paul's or whoever. Right.
Well, they were getting more than that.
I don't know. I
Uh,
just got 50.
yeah. Um,
You got 40.
Nick, Nick, like you missed the whole interview. You're gonna have to go back and watch because we talked about Jay actually, didn't leave or didn't get fired, and it just kind of evolved
I
into.
still work there, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, Jay's actually calling. He's calling matches this coming week. That's funny. I should have you. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to have you sit and we should like watch some stuff together and tape
I don't know
episodes
about that. It's
and get your thoughts on it now.
horrible. That's what I think. So, but it was fun. It was fun. So, and if it
Let's
was
see.
entertaining
Oh,
to 75 people, then God bless you.
what's this one? I'll never forget the episode of ECW TV where Eddie
It was
pranked
the
you with
one
a
and the
scout
same
machine.
thing, and we did one in the studio, and I was just sitting there waiting for him to show up, and they just had weird things coming out of different sounds and things. Yeah, I am like wildly think it's amazing that people thought that this stuff was entertaining. But then I'm the one who goes back now and watches, weird shows from the Gulf Coast of Florida from 1978 and laugh about it because it was so horrible and ugly. So I guess some of
Uh,
us just like crazy old independent shows. So,
were you ever going back to the
no,
Center of Sin?
I would never step foot in that place. No, I'm very well aware of it. No, lots of great stories about it. But you got to remember, I grew up in and around Philadelphia, so no, the Cylinder of Sin was no, nope. And if I
I
did, I
don't.
probably wouldn't say. So, no,
I don't know how that place is still standing.
it still is, and I'm sure the floors are still sticky, and ugh, that place, no,
Yeah,
no.
yeah, too funny.
And that was, I mean, the NWA and all that stuff was all down by the airport. But no,
Hmm.
the fact that he chose And probably because the rooms were so cheap. Is that why Paul would just get blocks of rooms there for
Probably.
$25 a night? Yeah. Okay.
Probably.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, so it's Tom Mishnick. He said, so Tom was the guy that put together the CyberSlam conventions for ECW.
Right.
So he said, I didn't even realize this, Tom. He had his conventions there. What a dump. We get a room there on show nights.
Had his conventions at the arena or at the Cylinder?
The Cylinder.
Really? Ooh. No. The only one of those I ever went to was the very first one that a Resi had up in North Jersey. He had a real big one.
Yeah.
I actually bought Rob Feinstein. It was the first show that he ever sold videotapes at for RF Video. And I bought the very first videotape that Rob Feinstein ever sold. And it was an all Japan tape at that Arezi convention. Yeah. That was a trip. That was a long time ago. But that was, and they still have those at the arena all the time, right? Don't they have them?
Feinstein runs them.
Yeah. Okay. And they're wildly successful, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
So he's doing the Friday before WrestleMania. He's got an afternoon show, and then a night show, and in between he's got a special, like, I don't know what the fuck he's calling it, some type of meet and greet with everybody.
Wow. Well, that's the weekend to do it. I wonder how much the arena's getting for. Wonder how much they're charging for half a day at the arena. That's what they're getting.
I mean, they were charging back when I was promoting, because I of course, naturally I wanted to run there, but I never did. To run there then, 20-something years ago, was $1,500.
Well, I wonder what. God, the first couple of nights we worked there, oh my God, we had to be out of there by 11 o'clock, and because there was 100 old ladies in line waiting.
Oh, to play bingo.
Oh my God,
yeah,
so much fun.
Yeah,
and all the props were still in the back. Man, that place was a dump. They've done a nice job fixing.
Have you been there since they've redone it?
I went when the Eagles got their Super Bowl rings at a party there.
Okay.
And I was down there on business, and because I work in construction, and in the they were doing some renovations right around that time, and I went, man, it's nice. I mean,
it's nothing like.
Oh, please.
Like you stand in there now, and I try to like picture the way things were, and it's not.
No.
Yeah.
I'm just disappointed there's not a little sign somewhere the size of a stop sign on the outside that says ECW Arena. That bothers me. So.
Yeah.
And bingo.
They should still just. They should still just call it
up there. ECW Arena and bingo hall. That should permanently be on there. But
it should. I agree. Well, Jay, this has been amazing.
What's that?
This has been amazing reconnected, man. I'm really happy.
I really had no clue that anybody really was still into ECW from 30 years ago, and it warms my heart that some people still are fond of it, and thanks. It lives on.
I honestly can't believe, like as I started doing this, the reaction and the huge interest that people have for Eastern Championship Wrestling, it's mind-blowing to me. Because I thought the product, up until the part I'm watching now, like when the build-up for Ultra Clash, I thought the product was horrible.
It was horrible. Of course it was horrible. No one knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
They didn't know what we were doing. I mean, listen, Terry Funk, after the Cabrini shows, came out and apologized. The only bad part is that we didn't get much better. So, I mean, it did. It was great for what it was. But, I loved it. I had no expectations of it. I didn't, But when Paul took over, then you knew it was and it was great. So,
yeah.
Now, again, people like you, people like me, bye-bye. But
yeah,
you can't begrudge what it became. And
exactly.
So.
Exactly.
We all got to share in it. That's the important thing.
That's the thing. Like, as small as our pieces were, we're still a piece of that history, and it's an honor to be a piece of that history.
Well, I just think it's wonderful that people remember it fondly and care about it. So it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very happy to sit and talk with you and fill in the pieces. So.
Well, Jay, thank you. Anybody, any last minute questions before we let Jay go?
I don't think there's anything else that we haven't.
ECW product before Ultra Clash had a very Memphis feel to it. I could see that, yeah.
And that's what it was. That's all he was
Yeah.
trying to do. He was just trying to replicate home. And
I
we're
think you're
doing
right
it.
when you said that earlier.
Yeah.
That, yeah.
And that's what if he didn't run into his unfortunate issues, that's what it would have turned out to be.
Yeah.
So,
What about any funny things you can recall from when you said you were doing the King of Philadelphia skits with them down South Street and all that? Any
except only that no one knew who the hell we were. No one knew who Eddie was.
Yeah.
No one
Yeah.
knew what we were doing. They just looked at us like we were from Mars. It was so much fun. It was great. No one begrudged it. No one tried to throw us out, but people just looked at us like we were insane. So it was great. It was fun.
So, what was the like? Did you guys just decide like, all right, we're going to do this and just start like bombarding places and going into
Yeah,
places?
he just said we're gonna go. I'm gonna go down and be king of Philadelphia. Come on. He made me wear that stupid red and white shirt, and we went down and we went to like 4 different bars. We went to South Street, we went to 2 places on the river, and we just walked in. And,
Right.
Yeah, and he just would walk over people and say, "I'm the king of Philadelphia." They would look at him like he was from Mars, and it was fun. It is what it is. It's stupid, and that's what it was meant to be. So, and all he was doing was trying to replicate Memphis.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Totally. That's funny. Well, again, Jay, thanks so much for doing this.
my pleasure.
Everybody, thanks for tuning in. We're going to do more stuff. Now that we've connected with Jay, we're going to do some more stuff in the future.
I want to see Donnie Allen. I want to see Max Thrasher. I want to see Steve Truitt. But we got to find him.
Okay, so the two people I put a bounty. I didn't put a bounty, but I put a search list out. It was Jay Sulli, Tigra, and JT Smith. We found you.
Where's JT? Somebody told me where they knew JT's in
So
Virginia somewhere.
he's in Virginia,
Yeah.
and I've been given a couple phone numbers, and I texted both numbers, no response.
I can't believe Fitzy can't find them. Fitzy can find
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, JT, I would love that. I would love to. That would be one that I would be fascinated. JT
Yeah.
is great, and he was another one from the beginning. And
Yeah,
he should
totally.
be on that banner. That's who I would refer.
He deserves his own
Drake,
banner.
I'd
He
put
does.
JT's name there. There you go.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought JT up.
Absolutely. Love JT.
Oh. So.
All right, hang tight because I want to say a couple things to you off air before we go. But everybody, thanks again for tuning in, and stay tuned. Make sure if you haven't done it yet, go down below, hit the subscribe button, ring that bell, get all the notifications because we'll be coming back hopefully each Sunday and chewing the fat with another ECW original. Until next time, thanks again to Jay, thanks to all the fans, and see you soon.